Hey guys, I'm Marissa and welcome back to my channel. Here on my channel we talk a lot about money and life and especially budgeting. I love budgeting. And so today I'm going to be breaking down a mock budget for an annual income of $40,000. But before we get into it, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. If you're not already subscribed, I'm doing a whole budgeting series here at different income levels, so definitely stay tuned. And also, I wanted to let you guys know, if you're wanting to get the budget template that I will be using today, you can actually get this template on my shop. I will have a link to it in the description box down below. The budget template is a more extended version than what I'm showing you today, just for simplicity, but you can check that out there. I do a ton of budgeting videos here on my channel, sharing my own household budget, which I will leave a link to that playlist in the description box down below and also in the card above, so you can check out and see what our monthly budget looks like for our personal household. So today I'm showing you a mock budget of a $40,000 annual income. And I also want to start by saying that this is just an idea of how you may want to budget your money if this is your annual income. And this is how I would budget for my household personally if this was my income. I know that a lot of things are going to fluctuate and a budget's going to look different for every person depending on your lifestyle and other factors. So definitely take that with a grain of salt, and you can definitely wiggle things around and change them to fit your necessities. I will also say that budgeting is really kind of more percentage based. And so the more that you make, the more they're able to spend money on certain categories in your budget. So for this mock budget, it's a lot more percentage based in that way. But also know that it may vary depending, again, on your circumstances. So knowing that, again, this is totally just a suggestion and how I would personally budget at this income level, here's the budget. So first off is the income section. So for our personal budget, I have my income and my husband's income as separate line items, and I'm able to therefore track all of our income streams. So if you have more than one income stream in your household, you can add an extra line and track it that way. But for the sake of this budget, we'll just have it all in one line. So an annual income of $40,000 after taxes, you may be taking home around $2,700 a month. Again, that's totally just around that much. I know it's going to totally vary depending on where you are living and also other factors that go into determining your tax rate. So it's all going to be different. But $2,700 could be around what you would take home if you were making $40,000 annually. So we'll just go off of that for the sake of this example. So we use a zero-based budget, which means that all of our income equals all of our expenses. And this is really important because it assigns every dollar a name. And you also are therefore able to make sure that you're not spending more money than you make. So the first things that we have listed out as expenses are just normal household expenses. The first one being giving. And I know that some people may think that I'm crazy for including this in a budget, but again, this is how I would budget for myself personally. And for my husband and I, giving is just always something that we've done in our budget. We've always just given 10% of our take home. So we have $270 assigned here for giving, which is 10%. Obviously, if that's not something that you want to have in your budget, you totally don't need to. You can put that money elsewhere, and that's exactly what a budget is. It's going to be personal for you and your circumstances. So definitely allocate it to how it's going to best fit your lifestyle. But for us personally, giving is important, and I have it always in the first line in my budget because of that. The next line item that we have is a mortgage, or rent. And that is going to be $810 a month, which is about 30% of your take-home pay. So it's honestly best to try and keep your rent or mortgage payment around 25 to 30% of your take-home pay, and that is what my husband and I have for our mortgage payment. It's always around in that window to about 25 to 30, and it's so important to keep it at this percentage because you don't want to become house poor and have too much money in your monthly budget going towards your rent or your mortgage payment, because then you're not able to enjoy other parts of your money or also work on your financial goals, which are really important. So these percentages kind of stay the same as far as the monthly mortgage goes or rent, depending on any income level that you're at, because you want to still be able to accomplish those other things. So as a portion of your take-home pay, you should look to spend 25 to, I would say, no more than 30% on your monthly mortgage or rent payment. So $810. I know that in a lot of parts of the United States, you actually can get a mortgage for $810 or rent something that's that amount, and that is super feasible. I know that in a lot of other parts of the country, that's totally not, and I completely get that. And what this may mean is that if you're making $40,000, you really want to try to stick to that 25 to 30% of your take-home pay going towards your monthly rent or mortgage payment. So that may mean that you have to take on a roommate, or maybe you are trying to work on finding other ways to bring in additional income so that you can afford that place that you really want to live in. When my husband and I first got married, we were each making around like $32,000 a year, and there was no way that we could have individually afforded our own apartment. Like, it wouldn't make sense with these guidelines of trying to stick to 25 to 30%. So I am really grateful that like we were married and we had a dual income, and so our household income was more like $64,000, and then it made more sense of being able to find something that we could rent. So we rented a small 1-bedroom apartment when we were first married, and it still worked in that percentage of our budget to allow us to still be able to work on paying off our student loans during that time. So definitely important to try and stick to that percentage, which again may mean taking on a roommate. The next line item that we have is utilities, and we have that at $135 or around 5% of your monthly budget. And things that would go into utilities would be something like water, garbage, sewer, electric, natural gas, your phone, internet, any sort of monthly utility bill that you're having to pay for. The next line item that we have is insurance, and that is $270 a month, which is 10%. It could be around 10%. Again, these budgeting guidelines are just that. They're guidelines, so maybe something is going to be higher in your budget or lower. Definitely need to adjust that to fit your lifestyle and your expenses. But insurance expenses that you could expect would be like health insurance or car insurance or life insurance. So those together could be $270 in your budget. The next thing that we have is groceries, and this is $270 as well, which is also 10%. And honestly, this is super doable depending on your family size. For my husband and I, we're a family of 2, and we spend around $250 to $300 a month on groceries, and we're able to manage that just fine. And we also cook almost every single meal at home. We go out to eat maybe like 2 or 3 times a month. So $270 should be super doable for even 2 people. And if you're one person on $40,000, then you could really try and reduce this grocery budget so that you could put more money in other places of your budget. Again, a budget is super customizable. The next line item that we have is transportation or gas, and that could also be around 10% of your income, which again is $270. Honestly, I feel like this is a little bit high. I feel like you could probably reduce this so that you could put more money elsewhere. My husband and I spend about $150 a month on gas, and we don't have to use any sort of bus pass or anything, but you can include like car maintenance items, gas, and a bus pass if that's applicable to you. But those transportation costs could be like 5 to 10%. Next we have is fun or entertainment, and we have that at 5% of the budget, which is $135. So things that would go into the fun and entertainment budget would be things like going to the movies or date night or going out to eat or any other sort of like fun event that you're wanting to partake in, going to a concert, something like that. So $135 is what you could expect to be around 5% of your take-home pay. And next we have is miscellaneous, and this is such an important part, it's such an important line item to have in your budget, and we have that at 5% of your take-home pay, which is $135. So miscellaneous, we basically put anything to miscellaneous that we forgot to budget for or that just doesn't fit in any of the other categories. So a lot of times things that went to miscellaneous when we were first getting started in budgeting would be things like household products like toilet paper or soap, or maybe I need a new mascara. And so those sorts of things would just go into the miscellaneous budget. That way our whole budget wasn't thrown out of whack and we were planning for the unexpected in that line item. So such an important line item to have about 5% of your budget, which would be $135 in this case. The next section that we have is savings items. So things that we're working on saving for. And in this case, I'm also going to list paying off debt, because maybe your goal is saving for an emergency fund right now. Maybe it's working on paying off debt, but you could put about 10% of your take-home pay to this savings or debt goal, and that would be $270. Obviously, if your debt payments are more than $270 a month, then you may want to find ways to trim out things in your budget so that you can put more towards your debt goal, or also work on increasing your income so that you can put more here. So this is just a guide, again, 10%-ish, because a lot of times budgeting is just based on percentages. So maybe 10% going towards savings or debt. And then we have personal spending money here at $135, which is 5% of your budget. I like having personal spending money down in my savings section of the budget, because that way I'm able to decide if I want to spend all that money in one month or carry it over to the next. And my husband and I each get $100 of personal spending money each month, and we can decide to do with it whatever we want. So a lot of times I spend mine on like going to Starbucks, or maybe getting like a new purse or something that like totally isn't a necessity. It's just a want for myself. So that's what we'd use personal spending money for. Honestly, $135 is a little bit high. So you can cut some of those things out to be able to put more towards savings. So if you were really trying to pay off debt, here's what I would do in this budget. I would make transportation and gas to be lower, maybe like 7.5%. And then fun and entertainment, I would also make a little bit lower. Maybe you could do 2.5%. Personal spending money could also go down to maybe 2.5%. We each got $50 of personal spending money for a long time, and we just recently increased that to $100, and our income is higher than $40,000. But in just that way, we were able to find an extra $202 in the budget. So that would make this amount to be $472.50. And this would be more like 17.5% that we could put towards this financial goal. So again, definitely budgeting is going to vary depending on your lifestyle and on your financial goals, but this is just a little bit of a framework of maybe these percentages of how you may want to allocate the income that you're bringing home each month. So don't forget, if you're wanting to get started with budgeting, I have a budget template on my shop. I will have a link to it in the description box down below so you can check it out. And also don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you are new, and also stay tuned with this budgeting series that I'm doing of budgeting at different income levels so that you may have an idea of how you can be utilizing your personal budget. And with that, I will look forward to seeing you guys in that next video. Bye.
Did you ever stop?